What would you do if a powerful king knocked on your door and asked for the land your family had owned for generations? Would you sell it? Would you compromise your faith? Now, what if refusing him could cost you your life? This is not just a story about property, it's a story of power, corruption, injustice, and divine judgment. In this chilling biblical account, a humble man says no to a king, a ruthless queen schemes in the shadows, and a prophet of fire confronts evil at its root. This is the story of Naboth's vineyard, where blood cries from the ground and justice thunders from heaven. But be warned, this story doesn't end in harvest. It ends in a haunting curse. In the heart of Jezreel, nestled among the rolling hills of northern Israel, sat a vineyard. It wasn't vast. It wasn't luxurious. But to Naboth, it was sacred. This land had been passed down from his forefathers, part of the tribal inheritance given by God himself to the people of Israel. According to the law of Moses, such land was not meant to be sold permanently. It represented not just livelihood, but covenant, identity, and worship. Naboth, a man of humble means and high convictions, tended this vineyard with love and reverence. Every grapevine was a reminder of his ancestors, every harvest an offering to God. But just beyond Naboth's vineyard, rising arrogantly above the city, was the royal palace of King Ahab. One morning, as Ahab strolled along his palace terrace, his eyes fell upon Naboth's vineyard. Its fertile soil and proximity to the palace made it a perfect site for a royal vegetable garden. It was a passing thought at first, but soon it became a craving. Ahab, who was already known for compromising the laws of Israel and marrying a pagan queen, wanted what he had no right to own. He sent for Naboth and proposed what, to him, seemed fair. "Give me your vineyard for a vegetable garden. I'll give you a better one elsewhere, or I'll pay you in silver." But Naboth's answer was swift and firm. "The Lord forbid that I should give you the inheritance of my ancestors." It wasn't just a matter of economics. It was about divine obedience. Naboth wasn't being stubborn, he was being faithful. Ahab returned to his palace, not as a mighty ruler, but as a pouting child. He threw himself onto his bed, turned away his face, and refused to eat. He was the king of Israel, yet one man's vineyard had brought him low. Then came Queen Jezebel, the true wielder of power behind the throne. She entered the room, and her voice cut through his gloom. "Why are you so sullen? Why won't you eat?" Ahab told her everything, that Naboth had refused to sell the vineyard. A twisted smile crept across Jezebel's face. "Is this how you act as king over Israel? Get up, eat, be cheerful. I will get you the vineyard of Naboth." And with that, evil was set in motion. Jezebel didn't argue with Naboth. She didn't negotiate. She went straight for blood. She wrote letters in the name of King Ahab, sealed them with his royal seal, and sent them to the elders and nobles of Jezreel. These were men who knew Naboth, men who should have stood for truth, but they feared power more than they feared God. Her instructions were chilling. Proclaim a fast and seat Naboth in a place of honor. Then bring in 2 scoundrels to accuse him of cursing both God and the king. Then take him outside and stone him to death. The plan was brilliantly wicked. The fast made it appear like a national tragedy had occurred, drawing people's attention. Naboth's seat of honor made the accusation more shocking, and the false witnesses ensured the sentence. Naboth, unaware of the plot, showed up obediently, perhaps honored to be called before his community. And then, like lightning, the accusation came. "He has cursed God and the king." The crowd gasped, but no one defended him. The scoundrels shouted louder. The elders nodded solemnly. Without trial, without appeal. Naboth was dragged outside the city and stoned to death. And not just him, his sons were killed too, ensuring that no legal heir could reclaim the vineyard. Stones silenced the innocent, and blood soaked the land. When Jezebel heard that Naboth was dead, she told her husband, "Get up and take possession of the vineyard of Naboth. He is no longer alive, but dead." Ahab, cold and indifferent, descended into the vineyard. No remorse, no hesitation, just satisfaction. He walked the rows of grapevines, probably planning which vegetables would go where, the soil still fresh with blood beneath his sandals. But while the king claimed his prize, God had already dispatched judgment. Miles away, God spoke to Elijah the Tishbite. Go down to meet Ahab, king of Israel, who rules in Samaria. He is now in Naboth's vineyard. Tell him, have you not murdered a man and seized his property? Elijah obeyed. The prophet walked into the vineyard with the fire of heaven in his eyes. Ahab looked up and froze. So you have found me, my enemy, Ahab muttered, but Elijah stood firm. I have found you, he said, because you have sold yourself to do evil in the eyes of the Lord. And then Elijah delivered the judgment. In the place where dogs licked up Naboth's blood, they will lick up your blood. Yes, yours. Your descendants will be cut off. Your house will become like the house of Jeroboam. Jezebel will be eaten by dogs. Anyone from your line who dies in the city will be devoured by dogs, in the fields by birds. The vineyard had become cursed ground, the king's moment of terror. Ahab, wicked, spineless Ahab, was shaken. The words pierced his soul. For once he tore his royal garments, dressed in sackcloth, and fasted. He walked humbly before the Lord, and God saw. Because he has humbled himself, I will not bring this disaster in his day, but it will come upon his house in the days of his son. Judgment was postponed, but not canceled. Time passed. Eventually Ahab would go into battle, disguised to escape death. But an arrow found its way through the joints of his armor. He bled in his chariot and died. His servants washed the blood from the chariot at a pool in Samaria, the same place dogs had licked Naboth's blood. Later Jezebel, still proud and defiant, would be thrown from a window by her own servants, her body smashed against the ground. Dogs devoured her flesh before she could be buried. God's justice had come full circle. This isn't just a story of ancient politics. It's a message that echoes through time. God sees everything, even the secrets plotted behind palace walls. No one is too small to matter. Naboth had no army, no power, and no voice. But God heard his blood cry out. False accusations are deadly weapons, used by the corrupt to silence the righteous. Repentance delays judgment, but justice will still come. Power without righteousness leads to ruin. Naboth didn't own much, but he held on to what mattered. His vineyard was a symbol of obedience, faith, and legacy. And for that, he died. But heaven recorded his name. Ahab and Jezebel gained what they wanted, but they lost everything that mattered. So I ask you today, what are you clinging to? Is your vineyard worth more than your values? And if someone tried to take it, would you stand firm, like Naboth? Because the God who saw Naboth's death still sees injustice today. And the God who judged Ahab still reigns with truth and fire. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more dramatic, real-life stories from the pages of the Bible, brought vividly to life. This was the story of Naboth's vineyard and the judgment that followed.